Welcome to the Wavemakers podcast by the Ocean Opportunity Lab. In this podcast, we dive in with fantastic female founders from around the globe, movers, shakers, and entrepreneurs who are changing the game in ocean and new energies. Let's dive in. Joining me in studio today, all the way from Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, is Danielle Southcott, owner and founder of multi-award-winning Veer Group, serial entrepreneur with nature-powered vessels. Danielle is also named one of the most influential women of maritime by RINA, the Royal Institute of Naval Architects. Danielle and her husband live on their wooden schooner Sea Change in the summers, and she's very used to taking the helm as a tall ship captain and sailor since her early teens. Danielle is also a prominent member of the Tool Female Founders and Owners Collective. Welcome, Danielle.
Hey, Birgit. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
And we're so excited to have you on board and introducing you to our growing global group of female change makers. So, Danielle, you are building your third venture, and we will dive into your voyage with Veer Group today. But for our audience to get to know you more on a personal level, I'd like to explore a little bit about your personal journey, who you are, and what you're building with Veer.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, I just wanted to quickly start by introducing where I am. You may see this giant bellows behind me. So I'm at the Lunenburg Ironworks Distillery, which was a building set up here in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia in 1893. A gorgeous building that was originally a marine blacksmith shop. So did all the maritime, literal ironworks for the sailing ships out of this harbor. So, and this is in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, which is originally the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So that's actually a little bit of a good snapshot of where I started off, because I was actually living in this town nearly 12 years ago to sail on these big tall ships here. So yeah, this is my third venture. The very first one I started is a rigging company called Topsail Rigging, and we do traditional rigging stuff. So that's why I thought this was a really good background. From there, I was the founder of Sail Cargo Incorporated, where we transitioned to very large wooden shipbuilding for cargo down in the mangroves in Costa Rica. And so my journey kind of went from sailing to rigging to shipbuilding, wooden shipbuilding. And now I've transitioned into Veer, into something that is by scale the largest project I've ever undertaken. And this is a large steel vessel is our first design, and it will be absolute zero emission as per International Maritime Organization. So that's a really quick snapshot, but it basically went from traditional sailor up to applying those learning into almost a commercial or industrial entrepreneur.
Yeah, and it's a very exciting and very special journey that you have embarked on. And can you tell me what is so special about Veer when you talk about using sailing ships for transporting cargo in today's modern society?
Veer is so special to me. I really feel that it is the culmination of, this is my 16th year in the clean shipping sort of boutique sector, and Veer is the culmination of that work. So for this, Veer is a startup company dedicated to designing only absolute zero emission vessels. So this is basically powered by only renewable energy. So our first vessel is using these sails. It's very obvious if you check out our website, they're very prominent, large sails. And this is a primary wind powered container ship. So we're the first in the world to present that idea that I'm aware of for container ships. And it's been quite a journey to get us there. This vessel has a secondary propulsion system, which is like a hydrogen electric system. So I'm happy to go in more about the wind, the hydrogen, but essentially Veer is all renewable.
Yeah. And you have targeted a segment that is known for huge vessels and small margins. So in a world of these giant container ships, where does Veer fit in?
It's interesting. So a lot of people will call our first vessel a prototype, which is sort of accurate because we would like to get larger. But at the same time, this vessel, which is 100 meters long or 328 feet, is a standalone real vessel. It will probably be one of the smaller container ships in the entire world, but it's still an active vessel. So in secondary, or even if you might call them tertiary ports, such as Iceland and Northern Iceland, where I was living last year, they have vessels of the same size or even smaller coming in delivering containers. So it's interesting that people always think about only these largest vessels, like the one that blocked the Suez Canal or the one that took out the bridge. But there are a whole range of vessels across a maritime sector, from small container ships all the way up to these absolutely massive ones.
That is a great intro and explanation to those that aren't, that much into your journey and your work already. And then I wonder, before we get diving further into the Veer voyage, what is it that really initiated your personal commitment and journey to become an entrepreneur within nature-fueled ships? And can you share a little bit about what has been the biggest challenges and surprises and achievements over the years since you started?
Well, when I get into the challenges, I don't want to give anybody gray hairs who's listening, but I'll share some of those. But what really motivated me to be an entrepreneur, as someone who comes from a self-proclaimed tree hugger background, I never really thought I would be an entrepreneur. I'm not particularly driven by the typical capitalist motivations, but what I will say is that when I started sailing in the sailing cargo boutique industry on a vessel called Tres Hombres, operated by Fair Transport. And that was where I first learned about the negative environmental impact of the shipping industry. And I was extremely motivated and inspired by Tres Hombres to apply that at a more industrial scale. So I wanted to go to those very large companies, whether it was Coca-Cola or whomever, and say to them, you can ship absolute zero emission. The wind does work. Renewable energy can answer your energy questions and problems. So I was personally motivated to demonstrate and prove that wind energy and other forms of renewable energy are completely viable, and we can clean this up.
That is so cool, because when we speak with established stakeholders, governmental officials, etc., very often we hear that, yes, we want this to happen, but technology isn't ready, or regulations aren't ready, or the supply chain isn't there. There are a lot of reasons for people to wait, while you are really moving into the early mover, kind of the pioneer part of this market, showcasing something as a small stakeholder and player in the market before the large guys.
And at first I was really challenged. I found it really challenging to understand that, because I thought these large shipping companies have so much money. They could do this. They could push it forward. And I used to get exasperated with that, because I thought they can do it. But I've realized that when you have a legacy, multi-generational company that is based on heavy assets, these are multi-billion dollar companies when you count the value of all the ships, it's hard for them to change. I have to say it. And so with Veer, we have amazing opportunity, but also challenges of being a clean slate, a startup. We can do whatever we want. We can show them. And that definitely comes with huge amounts of challenges. One, establishing credibility in the shipping industry as someone who was new to the space. But at the same time, having the clean slate allows us to go straight for that vision, that goal of absolute zero emission, and work with the stakeholders such as the American Bureau of Shipping and say, we want to do primary wind, we want to do hydrogen, we want to push these regulations forward.
Yeah. So would you say, in the world of Goliaths, like Maersk and the big players, do we need the Davids, or in your case, the Danielles, to show the way forward?
Yes. And I've sat down in countless meetings with these large shipping companies, and I, for one, think, just go do it. They have the capacity. But they tell me, we don't know, they're not in a position, or they have not chosen to put themselves in a position where they're confident to move forward. And I think because when you have so much riding on the decision, right, if you're going to launch 12 new gigantic ships, you do have to have a lot of confidence. But with us, what we've done is, with one vessel, one design, starting with a clean slate, we've made this clear to our investors that this is the mission. We can just go for it. So I do think sometimes it's David and Goliath feeling like we're fighting, but sometimes it's like a giant slow vessel and someone's on a racehorse. And, the racehorse kind of finds the way, and then it makes that path clear. So, yeah, there's different ways to think about that.
Yeah. And while probably the kind of most amazing scenario for you moving ahead is if the large container shipping companies were just co-investing in you to pilot and test out something radically new. But on the path getting there, I want to hear a little bit more about your supporters, because you have had this amazing global tribe of fans following you for years and years. And which of your supporters do you want to kind of name drop or share with you that has paid it forward from the earlier days, enabling you to get to where you are today? And which are the customers and partners and the stakeholders that have helped opening up those very, very important first doors for you?
So I would not be sitting here talking to you today if it weren't for our angel investors. I'm not going to say anybody's names, but we have now 5 angel investors. That's it. And without their support and belief in what I'm doing and what Veer, the whole team is doing, we would not be here. So establishing credibility in the industry is hard. And if you're just coming into it, like I was, there were zero institutional investors, 0 shipping companies interested, zero technology providers that wanted to go in, 0. I mean, 0. Grants, nothing. It was just, you're not credible enough. And it was super challenging. So if like angel investors, or if you are listening and considering becoming an angel investor or an impact investor, please do it. Like, you might win, you might lose, but some really amazing ideas would never see the light of day if it weren't for angel investors. But then there have been, so that's one category. But then just generally, like, supporters and people who encouraged me and guided me are endless. I have been so blessed to be surrounded by the most inspirational people. One of them is sitting here with me right today, Birgit. Like, you have opened so many doors for me and just pulled me over here and said, you know, it's that credibility and just saying, this person, just somebody listen to Danielle, just give her 5 minutes of your time, and opening that door. You can't put a price tag on it. It's just so immensely powerful. But a couple other people that have, just to name 2 other names, they happen to be women. One is Maddie McLean from the Zero Emission Ship Technology Association. She has continued, I'm not going to say open doors, more like kicked them down. She's incredible. And another person who's just opened doors for me and is this just gentle energy of wisdom is Inga Ralph from Global Choices or Arctic Angels, and just amazing. So I've been blessed by the people around me.
I'm so glad to hear that. And this is really my personal vision and hope for the initiative of building up the tool Female Founders and Owners Collective and this podcast as well with the wave makers is really to bring the women who are building and owning, changing companies for the future out to the rest of the world so that more of us can go faster and better together. And, that those of us who have resources can apply them. And those in need of those resources can bring them on board and use them to run faster and make more happen. And I think now more than ever in the time we're in today, that is needed. And then that brings me over to really the next part of your journey, Danielle, because now you have investors on board, you have come quite a good way, and there's still a marathon. It's a long way to go still. Can you share with me and our audience, what are the ideal type of partners, customers, investors, stakeholders that you are really seeking to team up with now for the next stage of scaling? What type of resources do you need to realize and grow Veer onwards?
Thank you for asking me that. Just to make it crystal clear, Veer currently has one design for a container ship that is completely ready to go. We have the shipyard selected, the classification society, complete approval in principle has been given. The technology is available. Everything is there. We do have an investment round open. We have investment, but we are seeking more. But literally every piece of the puzzle is there, except we are undersubscribed for cargo. So Veer does have a letter of intent signed with UPS to ship. So United Parcel Service, which is very amazing. This is a massive company, but we need to find more companies that want to ship. And just in case you're listening and you're wondering, is that me? Is that not me? Our vessel is a fast, clean container ship that can cross oceans. So on top of that as well, depending on the route you're looking at, we can be cheaper than your current shipping option. So if you ship in containers on the water and you wish you could save money, be cleaner, and have a more beautiful vessel, we really, really could use some subscription or a company saying, hey, we want to ship clean, we want to save money, and we want to get your ships on the water. So that's the number one ask.
Yeah. And what's your kind of, favorite dream customer? Is it like the smaller B Corps, or is it like a small sustainability focused niche branch of a larger industrial cargo owner? I mean, share with us what would be like the perfect match and the perfect combo of cargo owners coming your way.
I mean, speaking selfishly, I just want Patagonia so that we can have all the Patagonia gear for all the crew. But speaking more realistically, I think something that's revealed itself to me is the inextricable link between healthcare and the ocean, and how healthcare products are being transported, and they are trying to reduce their Scope 3 emissions. They're trying to acknowledge the link between human health and planetary health, especially ocean health. And so in conversation with a number of groups that we're currently in conversation with, it's these healthcare products that they're really saying, hey, we want to do no harm to the ocean, to the people. We want to make cleaner choices. And so when we're offering them absolute zero emission shipping, these healthcare companies are really coming up. But it could be any company that ships in containers that wants to take a step towards sort of cleaning up their Scope 3 emissions. So it could be any company. I'd be happy. Yeah.
Super. So that's a big shout out to all of the cargo owners out there, and all of you who know the cargo owners. Make sure to check out Veer and Danielle and connect with her. And then I wonder, I mean, Danielle, this is, starting out with a huge vision, very specific project, utilizing existing technologies put together in a new combination, looking into the future and bringing you, into your older days. If you imagine that you're, sitting back in a rocking chair many years from now, can you, share with me, with your vision and commitment for the future, what is the footprint that you seek to leave behind? If you succeed, what kind of impact have you brought to the world when you're getting old and seasoned of age?
I can picture it. I almost feel like I'm almost there. No, it's pretty clear what I would call success is if it was more widely accepted within the shipping industry that renewable energy works. That's it. So that's why we went with a container vessel. We wanted it to go fast, so you don't have this perception that it's slow, renewable energy slow or unreliable. And we wanted to go across oceans to completely break that conception or barrier that, you can have renewable energy like if you're plugging in every night on the shore. So if I could inspire and change the mindset of the industry to simply understand that renewable energy is part of the solution, and for me, I believe it's like the whole solution, but if they believe that renewable energy works and then that just becomes part of the conversation, that would be success. So just inspiring people to understand renewable energy works.
Thank you. And I perceive Veer to be a collaborator rather than looking at this picture as competition and win and lose scenarios.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a lot of people will often hold Veer up to some other shipping companies that exist that are doing great work. And they say, what if they launch first? Or what if this ship does this? And I'm like, good. That's what I'm trying to do. I want people to get out there. There's more than enough cargo for everybody once those cargo owners start saying, I want to ship clean. So we love also integrating different technologies on board. Our first design, as I said, is this container ship, but our team is already working on other designs across the segment within freight. So yeah, we're looking at massive solar arrays. We're looking at different types of fuel cells, batteries, like everything. And so that form of collaboration is also important, working with those technology providers as well.
Super. Thank you, Danielle. And on this path, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing right now, and how do you plan to overcome them? And how can Tool and our audience support you?
Well, the biggest challenge right now is securing anyone who wants to ship cargo. So anyone Tool, you already help so much. But to all the listeners, if they know a company, like any company, their favorite company, they want them to ship clean, if they can point them our way or send them our link or follow us on social media, veer.voyage, just get the word out that you can already ship clean if you sign up to it, if you choose. And that's the biggest thing.
Super. We believe, in a world of entrepreneurship and very masculine power industries such as energy and the maritime, it is easy to just look on the outside. But we believe the strength true strength is built through openness and sharing our vulnerabilities, which can also sometimes just be the most scary and difficult part. So we wanted to hear for our crowd to get to know you more. Can you share one of your biggest challenges that you have encountered on your journey? How have you worked to overcome it? And what are some of the life hacks and advice that you want to share with other founders and women out there to inspire their own journeys?
So I won't go into any details, but what I'll say is I have endured a heck of a lot of challenges and hardships on this path. I mean, very, very challenging, to the point multiple times where giving up was right there. And they weren't really necessarily financial or normal ones that people say. The biggest challenge I had was making sure you have the right people on your team. And there's a difference between having a team that's full of great people, which I've always had. All of the teams I've ever had have been full of the right people, amazing people. But what I mean is that your team is only full of the right people, because what I've had as a challenge is one bad apple can spoil the bunch. I think, as speaking, from a female perspective, as someone who loves inclusivity, caring, giving somebody like 3 chances or 4 chances, and there's almost like this mothering side of like caring and like telling yourself, they're good, like it's fine. My biggest piece of advice is listen to your intuition, listen to your heart, to your gut. And if you think someone shouldn't be on the team, then they shouldn't be on the team. And that doesn't mean they can't come back in the future. That doesn't mean that you are horrible to them and are cutting them out in some horrible way. But respect the other people on your team, that they deserve to be surrounded by only the right people. And I would say, as a female entrepreneur, as a startup, that was my biggest lesson. And it's a lesson I continue to learn.
That's a difficult lesson. It's hard.
Well, yeah.
When you care about people.
And yes, because you care like about everybody.
And I think that's something that can resonate with a lot of founders and leaders out there. And it is difficult. And it's maybe sometimes also about, you want to try. You want to try your best. And then sometimes the best thing we can do is actually to also let each other go.
Yeah.
And rather have a good handshake and be able to meet again and reconnect at the right point of time.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it is a tough journey building companies within these sectors, and also as women founders, and it's also extremely exciting. And that leads me over to, the next part, because we are having a huge focus on looking at the redesign of the structures, the synergies, the ecosystem approach. And you represent a pioneer in what we call a boutique shipping segment. Can you share with me what kind of resources and support is it that you represent and can enable towards other entrepreneurs within your own supply chain, those that can have relevant solutions for your operations, where you can be the customer or the partner?
So that's a huge one. I think for Veer, the way that manifests is the crew and the people on the boat. So an example is that Veer has already pledged to Captains Without Borders, which is run by Alexandra Haggerty, and also to the Wista 40 by 30, 40 by 40 Wista Norway pledge. And so those are both pledges about opening doors for people that would not normally get access to being crew, to being educated, to getting sea time on these vessels, whether it's from the global south, where these people may not have access to getting a shot at first mate or chief engineer or captain. And also, obviously, for women anywhere where the same barriers apply, they may not be given that opportunity to shine as chief engineer, first mate, or captain. So we have already pledged and subscribed to both of those. As well, every year we do a small donation to the St. Lawrence II, the ship that I started on at age 13, to send one young lady to sea and sponsor one young lady to go sailing on the vessel I started on. And that's kind of that paying it forward, opening doors, and making a space for people who are not traditionally given those opportunities to have leadership roles on the ship. And so that's something that's really important to me, because I wouldn't be here again today if certain people didn't give me that opportunity. So yeah, that's one way. And we want to do more, but as a startup, that's what we pledge to. And there's countless things that we'll probably pledge to and do, but the crew opportunities.
It's a start. And I think that's I mean, both the 40 by 30 initiative by Wisdom Norway and also the Captains Without Borders. Those are, I think, very tangible, very practical initiatives that others, whether it's small or large companies, can get on board on and get inspired by. And then I wonder, because I mean, we are hosting a new guest every week on this podcast. And if you were to, have your top pick, which female founder or owner is it that you would like to have featured on our Wavemaker podcast onwards?
I think someone who's inspired me recently in the past several months, who I've been learning more and more about and so impressed by, is Marina Hatipateras. So I'm going to call her out, and I would love to listen to her more and speak to you more. So yeah, Marina, definitely would love to hear more of her story.
That is great. Then I will reach out to Marina and check if she's up for the challenge and opportunity. So thank you so much, Danielle. It was really nice to have you on board with us. And we are continuing to sharing this journey. For anyone who wants to keep following Danielle and Veer on their path towards nature-fueled container ships, you will be able to follow both on the professional venture side and also more about Danielle's personal story on the Tool Spawn. So community.toolspawn.com, where you will meet her and a bunch of other amazing women founders, owners, and change makers. So stay tuned with us, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Tool Community at community.toolspawn.com. See you soon.